I was wrong. Hello everybody, this is DLU here, and today we've got the topic of my mucking up. I should say, I do plan on running analysis of DLU as a server, something I'm quite looking forward to, I must admit, at some point in the future, but I also feel as though I should discuss this topic as soon as possible. I also got a new computer for Christmas, so maybe sometime I'll get to recording some new footage, and with reduced lag for the backgrounds of these videos. Woo! Can't believe I just whooped. Anyway, so, for people who listen to this channel relatively often will know I've been really excited for and heavily predicting the coming of DLU's closed beta event this year, whilst also being really amazed at what that will mean for the DLU timeline as a whole. However, now we've reached 2020, I've got to say it didn't happen. The DLU closed beta, which I've been predicting and have been hyped for a whole year, didn't come to pass. And so I'd sort of like to spend today discussing how DLU put so much pressure on themselves that they dug themselves into a hole. And so, as do most things, this began on Twitter. I'm pretty certain from memory there was an earlier reference to this than one I found, but I don't know where it was. And so, this began on the 1st of January 2019, with the following tweet from DLU. It should be noted that Alpha 2 is still our last alpha phase, so we're not teasing a new alpha. We are, however, confirming closed beta will come later this year. That's all we'll say for now. Enjoy 2019, Explorers. For context, this followed, Happy New Year, Explorers. Do you have a resolution for this year? Ours is to get more of you in-game, which was posted on the 31st of December. As of then, it probably seemed quite feasible to get up to Nimbus Station from Avant Gardens. In fact, earlier in this, back in May 2017, they teased the fact that beta might extend as far as pet taming, which would have required that players travel to Pet Cove, and as of the 2018 Halloween testing, players were teleported forward into Nimbus Station, although without the preceding functionality. So it probably all seemed pretty doable to produce a large chunk of progress by then to keep up the theme of new content in each new testing phase. In fact, we were shown throughout this year multiple images of gnarled forest, which sort of hinted that not only might we reach Nimbus Station, but we also looked set for gnarled forest, which in terms of amount of content available would have actually placed DLU ahead of LCDRU, something which hasn't been the case since LCDRU came out. So, everywhere from Twitter to the forums, the DLU team was saying we'd be having a testing phase by the end of last year, and that just didn't end up happening, so why not? Well, the answer comes back to the fact that development just takes a lot of time. Specifically, they seem not to have anticipated the need for a rewrite, although this information that they were going to be doing this was actually released fairly early on in April 2019 to the testers, and they still continued to tease content after that point. Many of the tweets I mentioned earlier did in fact come after that point. And so, the reason can't be solely this was unexpected, there must have been other stuff too, and of course, there was. DLU has always had a pretty fluid development team, and so multiple devs have been active and gone inactive again throughout this year, in a pretty unpredictable fashion, as DLU has previously mentioned during the delays for Alpha 2. Quotes, our developers are finding time to deal with issues in their own lives, and because of this they were unable to find time to work on the game. It really annoys me they put two spaces before the because in that sentence. I've just corrected it in my script. At this stage, the developers had backed themselves into something of a hole. The earlier they made a retraction to closed beta by the end of 2019, the better they would fare, in terms of people's opinions, and basically just the number of people complaining. But it was only as they reached the deadline that they began to realise that if they released now, they wouldn't live up to people's expectations. And also, reading through the information they've put out there, they actually said that open beta would follow closed beta. Quotes, our closed beta will take in more people than this and will have an open beta so everyone will be able to join, end quotes. As well as, quotes, closed beta still requires a key, and open beta is when anyone can play and will come after closed beta ends, smiley face, end quotes. The latter strongly implying they didn't intend for a closed beta 2, in the same way they'd planned for an alpha 2. And they did try and back out to some extent. You'll note that the closer they got to the end of 2019, the less often they'd mention it in the tweets, their earlier promise of 2019 closed beta, or with less certainty. January. We are, however, confirming closed beta will come later this year. May. We'll still be hard at work getting the universe ready to visit later this year. The Maelstrom won't win, especially not once you return to Nimbus Station to pick up your faction kit in the beta later this year. And then we get, in October, we're hoping to accept more testers before the year is over. And at this point in writing the script, I just realised DLU has been very clever. I was going to go on to discuss developer psychology and all that, but then I realised actually they did fulfil their promise, or almost all of their promises, in a way I'd actually predicted. In fact, the only one I can think of that wasn't fulfilled is the quotes. The Maelstrom won't win, especially not once you return to Nimbus Station to pick up your faction kit in the beta later this year, because in 2019, no one made it to Nimbus Station. However, in a previous video, probably my What's Next for OU video, I suggested that I didn't think DLU were going to be ready for the scale of closed beta by the end of 2019, especially not given that open beta was planned for directly afterwards, and I suggested that a way of backing out of it might be some sort of possibly continuous testing phase, and with multiple separate editions of testers and multiple chances to join. Things didn't quite go how I expected. I expected server load to be the problem, and for all the testers to have a chance to play fairly soon after they joined, but of course it wasn't in the end. The problem was that the server simply wasn't complete enough to meet the expectations of the community. And so they did exactly what I predicted in that video, although mostly because I wasn't too specific in my prediction. I won't claim I actually expected this. They had multiple selections of testers, with the start of the testing phase delayed until 2020. Technically, closed beta did start. The testers got the closed beta role in the Discord, not the Alpha 2 role, meaning that the winter testing was technically closed beta, but DLU just didn't publicly label it as such, until you decided to demonstrate their specialty, client modding, at a time when they didn't have the server to do much more. I've been fairly critical about the whole winter testing thing, I feel, but actually it was quite a clever way for them to dig themselves out of quite a scary looking hole, and to not disappoint anyone. So, wow, that was quite the turnaround. Congratulations to DLU for entering closed beta, even if we all missed it. I'm saying we all, I'm going to get comments saying you didn't miss it, even if I missed it, by a mile. And with me being wrong, but in a completely different way to the way in which I thought I was going to be wrong when I started writing the script. Subscribe, as usual, to the developer channels in the description. I'm DLU, and I'll see you around. Thank you for listening.